Harekrishna, everyone. Thank you very much for coming to the glorious appearance day, Balaram Purnima, Balaram's blessed and holy appearance day. Next on the agenda is we're going to have our speaker tonight is going to be Dravida Prabhu, who's joined Krishna consciousness in 1973. Has been a scholar since day one. He helped with the translation and editing work for Srila Prabhupada's book, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita. He's also very, very learned and adept in Sanskrit and produces very beautiful poems. And he's going to speak about the glories of Lord Balaram tonight. So, Dravida Prabhu, are you here? And then please welcome Dravida Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. Shri Balaram Purnima ki jai, Shri Balaramaji ki jai. So on this wonderful Balaram Purnima in 2018, here in San Diego, I feel very privileged to be able to say a few words about the glories of Lord Balaram and how important he is actually for all of our spiritual lives. So I'm going to begin by reading a little section from Srila Prabhupada's Krishna book. This is from the second chapter called The Prayers by the Demigods for Lord Krishna in the Womb. When Krishna was still within the womb of Devaki in the dungeon of Kamsa, the demigods came incognito and they offered all these prayers, very important prayers, and there Srila Prabhupada explains the glories of Lord Balaram also in that section. In the Upanishads it is stated, Nayam Atma Balahinena Labhyaha, which means one cannot attain the supreme platform of self-realization without being sufficiently favored by Balaram. Bala, in the name Balaram, does not mean physical strength. It can mean that, but in this context it doesn't. One must have the spiritual strength which is infused by Balaram or Sankarshan. Ananta or Sheshanaga, and this is the expansion of Balaram, is the source of the power that sustains all the planets in their different positions, otherwise known as gravity. Scientists don't know what that actually is, but that's Balaram's power holding everything together. Materially, this sustaining power is known as the law of gravitation, but actually it is a display of the potency of Sankarshan. Balaram or Sankarshan is the source of spiritual power, or the original spiritual master. Therefore, Lord Nityananda Prabhu, who is also the incarnation of Balaram, is the original spiritual master. And the spiritual master is the representative of Balaram, the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead who supplies spiritual strength. in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is confirmed that the spiritual master is the manifestation of the mercy of Krishna. So, when you begin to take up Krishna consciousness and read the books of Srila Prabhupada, you kind of have to suspend your supposed understanding of what's possible and what isn't possible. And one of the things you learn quickly is that when you say God is omnipotent or infinitely powerful, that this has some very interesting ramifications. And one is that he can expand himself unlimitedly. And in fact, we learn from the Bhagavatam second canto in the Chatur Shloki that everything is an expansion of Krishna. Ahame vasame bagre nanya jat sarasat padam pashtadaham miretara yobhishisheta sosvyaham. Before there was anything, Krishna says, I existed. And after the manifestation of this material world, it is nothing but myself in the form of my energies and my expansions. And after everything is wound up, I will continue to exist. So, Krishna's expansion, this is part of the science of Bhakti Yoga that's taught by our great acharyas, explained in great detail by such towering intellects as Jiva Goswami and others, is that there's different kinds of expansions. One that we're very familiar with, although we may not know it, is the expansion of Krishna's energies. Krishna makes it very clear in chapter 7 that everything we ordinarily experience in our life, the solid matter, the gases, the liquids, the radiant energy, everything is simply an expansion of different energies. Bhumar, apo, olano, vayu, karmano, buddhadeva cha. Progressively more subtle. So this is called the apara prakriti, or the lower energy. It's not alive. It's not conscious. This table is not conscious, but I am conscious. So then there's the higher energy, which consists of us. We are part of that, para prakriti. And there's also an internal energy that we don't perceive in our present condition. And the whole spiritual world and Krishna's abode and his dear devotees and the land there, everything that we know, we're reading the books of Srila Prabhupada, that's a manifestation of Krishna's internal energy. Then there are other expansions called swa-angsha, which means that these are called plenary expansions, and these are all these different manifestations of God, just like we celebrate the appearance day of Lord Nrsingadev as well, the appearance day of Lord Varaha, the Bora incarnation, and other appearances which we call Vishnu Tattva. They are equally powerful as Krishna, but they don't manifest all of his qualities as much as he does. He manifests all the qualities of God, of Bhagavan, in full. That's why he's known as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, Baladev, or Balaram, is Krishna's first svanksha expansion, meaning that he's non-different from Krishna. I'm going to read something, a little excerpt from from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila chapter 5, which deals with the glories of Nityananda. And it's no secret, Nityananda is Balaram. That's also mentioned. So here he's explaining, I don't read the Bengali, this is Adi 5:4. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the fountainhead of all incarnations. Krishna, Lord Balaram, is his second body. Text 5, these two, Balaram and Krishna, are one and the same identity. And here is this essential concept that Lord Chaitanya emphasized, reconciling all different varieties of philosophies. Achintya Beda Beda Tattva. Achintya means inconceivable, Beda means difference, Abeda means no difference, Tattva. The truth is that everything is one with and different from Krishna. So Balaram is also Krishna, but he's not Krishna. And they ask Prabhupada, what's the difference? A slight difference in color. That's all. So he has a little different role to play, but he is fully as powerful as Krishna, and he is attractive as Krishna. They differ only in form. Balaram is the first bodily expansion of Krishna, and he assists Lord Krishna's transcendental pastimes. Text 6. The original Lord Krishna appeared in Navadvipa as Lord Chaitanya, and Balaram appeared with him as Lord Nityananda. And we're going to explore that in a few minutes. But this is especially how Balaram is so important for our spiritual endeavors. If we want to actually advance in devotional service and experience some of the wonders of Krishna consciousness, then we're going to need help from Lord Balaram in the form of Nityananda. The mercy of Lord Nityananda allowing us to approach Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, and then I'm just going to read a little bit more of, this is a summary that was written up about the Balaram. He's the fountainhead of all incarnations. When the incarnations appear, they appear through Balaram or one of his expansions, such as the Purusha avatars. It gets a little complicated, but I'll try to keep it as simple as possible. Balaram's the first expansion of Krishna. He assumes 5 other forms to serve Lord Krishna. He himself helps in the pastimes of Krishna. Now, anyone who's familiar with what we call Krishna book or Krishna's Leela in Vrindavan know that Balaram plays a very central role. He's always there with Krishna. He appears, he's slightly older than Krishna, and therefore Mother Yashoda is always asking him, please protect Krishna, make sure he's okay when you go out there. And so because he's very strong, he's a little older, and he plays a prominent role in many of the pastimes, which we'll discuss in a little bit. As well, he expands as the Chaturvyuha. These forms you may have heard of, Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, who are prominent in the creation and maintenance of this material world. In all the forms, he tastes the transcendental bliss of serving Krishna. Now, the appearance of Balaram, there was the prediction when Devaki was married to Vasudeva, and they were going to his home, and Kamsa was, he was the brother-in-law, actually the cousin, but probably calls it brother and sister, similar relationship. And so he was riding the chariot, and then there was this omen, this unembodied voice in the sky, and these often have a very important role to play in Krishna Leela, as you see. And it says, Kamsa, you fool! You're driving this lady to her home, but you don't know that her 8th son will kill you. And immediately Kamsa, all of his affection for his cousin sister evaporated. He took up a sword and he's ready to behead her. It's very dramatic, right at the beginning of Krishna book. And so Vasudeva had to think on his feet, and what can I do in order to save Devaki? So he started to preach to Kamsa. First of all, this logic. She's not threatening you. It's her 8th son. So you have nothing to worry about. And and besides, it'll look very bad for you if you kill your sister. Just think about your reputation. So nothing seemed to work. He hesitated, but then he was going to do it again. So he said, well, the final thing that you can do is, well, any son that is born of her, I'll offer to you. You can do whatever you want. And Vasudeva was known for his word. You see? For keeping his word. And so Kamsa relented. Okay, it really will look bad, this is bad PR if I kill my sister. So it was all self-calculating. Okay. So anyway, time goes on, Devaki gets pregnant with the first child, and Vasudeva says, here he is. And Kamsa, feeling a little merciful, said, no problem, take it back. It's the 8th son I have to worry about. But then his demoniac advisors told him, no, any of the children could be Vishnu. We've heard that all the demigods are taking birth, in underground. So he said, you're right. So he takes the child, he kills each child. It turns out that the backstory is that these are his own children from a previous birth, but anyway, it's very gruesome. So the 7th pregnancy takes place. And this is Balaram. And so Krishna advises Yogamaya, by your power, you transfer Balaram from the womb of Devaki to the womb of Rohini, who's taking shelter in Nanda's Braja. Everyone had scattered because of Kamsa, and they were taking shelter. So Rohini was another wife of Vasudeva, and she was taking shelter there. So she did that, and they thought it was a miscarriage. But there's Balaram, the eldest brother now. He's growing up in Nanda Braja. So then time goes on, and the 8th pregnancy happens, and Krishna takes birth in the dungeon there, and there's all these wonderful prayers and all these different things. And so Vasudeva, his promise was he would deliver the sons, but he broke his promise in this case. And by Krishna's power, his mystic power, all of the shackles were loosened, and the doors were opened, and the guards fell asleep, and he was able to take Krishna to Vrindavan and bring back Maya Devi, who had taken birth there. And so when Kamsa burst in, and here's the 8th child, and he tried to kill her, she flew up into the sky, and she chastised him, "You fool, the child is somewhere else." And so this way Krishna escaped. And Balaram, so they started growing up in Vrindavan. And as far as Yashoda and Nanda knew, that Krishna was their son. They knew that Balaram was Vasudev's child, but he also was treated as the son. So that's how they both went to Vrindavan. And then there was all of these pastimes of Krishna and Balaram in Vrindavan. And they're too numerous to mention, but we'll just go through some of the my favorites here. I always loved this chapter, the killing of Dhenukasura. Dhenukasura was an ass demon, donkey demon, and Krishna and Balaram they're going out herding the cows with their friends, and part of this chapter is just describing all of their wonderful pastimes that they're enjoying. There's several chapters like that. The boys would just play. Wouldn't it be great to have a job that's really the most favorite thing that you want to do? In other words, you could play all day and get paid for it, and that's exactly what they have. So they're herding the cows, that's their business, but at the same time they're playing games, they're wrestling, and every so often some demon comes, and that's another pastime that they enjoy. So this time the boys were feeling a little hungry, and they said, just nearby there's this forest of tala fruits. Now, is this some kind of a date palm or something? It's some kind of sweet fruit. And but no one can go there because this demon named Dhenuka, the donkey demon, has taken over this forest. Not even the birds want to fly there, and he's got a whole bunch of other donkeys who are his associates, and they're just guarding this forest. They're not eating the fruits; they're just letting them get overripe. So we're very hungry, and don't you smell the fragrance coming from here? From here. So. Krishna and Balaram laughed. And this chapter features Balaram. At the beginning of the chapter, they go into the forest, and then Krishna praises Balaram. He has a little, look, all of the deer have come to worship you, and especially the leaves and the flowers and the fruits are looking very fresh because you're touching them with your fingernails. And then especially the gopis are ecstatic because you like to embrace them. And it features Balaram. So Balaram goes into the forest first, and he shakes the tree, and all its fruits come down. And immediately Dhenuka says, somebody's come to challenge my supremacy in this forest. And he comes and he commits a great offense. He turns his back to Balaram and he kicks him with this is what the donkeys do. He's braying and trying to kick him. So this Balaram didn't feel it any more than an elephant would feel a flower garland. Okay, let's try again. As he runs and comes back. This time Balaram grabs those hind legs, swings around, throws him into the highest tala tree. And the weight starts swinging that tree back and forth, and it knocks over other trees, and it creates a big mess there. Many trees have fallen down, the fruits are falling down. So now what happens is, and this happens again and again, the demons, the other demonic donkeys, instead of realizing our strongest donkey friend was Dhenuka, he was just killed. That means we're not going to conquer. No. Their rage was so great that they immediately attack. And like the flies or the gnats going into the fire. So by this time Krishna's joined them, and together they kill all these Dhenukas. So that's one of the favorite pastimes. And again, Pralambasura, another demon, came in and disguised himself, and he joined up with the other boys, and they were playing a game, and they tried to carry Balaram away, and Balaram realizes it's not good and bashed him in the head and killed him. So this goes on like this, and eventually we get to the he also has pastimes when they're in Dwarka, and one of my favorites is the killing of Dravida gorilla. Everyone says Dravida gorilla, so we might as well just surrender to it. His actual name is Dravida, And it turns out he was an associate in Ram Leela. He was on the side of Ram, but somehow by bad association, in Krishna Leela, he turns out to be a demoniac gorilla, Dravida gorilla. So he created havoc, in the gorilla kind of way, a monkey kind of way. He just he would go out, like here we are, next to the beach. So he was a huge gorilla. So he would make all these waves and inundate the land, So in this way he would cause mischief everywhere. So Balaram, he was playing not with the gopis, but the young ladies from Dwarka, and they was on a mountain. And they were singing and dancing and having a great time. And so Dravida heard these wonderful sounds coming from this mountain. So he went up there and he started to create mischief. He's mocking Balaram, He's showing he's exposing himself to the ladies, who are, a blush. And then he starts taking Balaram's clothes, trying to rip Balaram's clothes off. Obviously, he's not very bright. And so Balaram says, "Okay, I'm going to have to fight this demon, this Dravida." So he challenges him. And Dravida, he uproots a big tree and he tries to strike Balaram, but Balaram is able to, parry the blow. So then they're fighting with the trees. Balaram also is very powerful, and they're fighting the trees back and forth. And eventually they denude the whole top of the mountain from trees, so they start throwing boulders. Balaram's still got one tree left, and he's batting them away, And eventually Dravida gets very frustrated at all this, and he attacks Balaram personally. And they have a little fight, and Balaram hits him here, and his blood starts flowing, and he falls down dead. It's like a big earthquake when he hits the ground. So this is Dravida gorilla is dead and gone. Now Balaram also he plays a very important role when he visits the residents of Vrindavan after a long time. Krishna had left, and the gopis and all the other residents were in deep pain of separation. So Balaram goes there, and he stays for, I think it's a month. And he has a rasa dance. He has his own set of gopis, actually, but he consoled everybody because Balaram is not different from Krishna. So he was able to give them the sense of the presence of the Lord and to soothe their pain. So I wanted to, we're a little late. Things started a little late. I wanted to end with again bringing it back to the importance of Balaram for us, and that is in Balaram's expansion as Lord Nityananda. And Lord Nityananda is Balaram. Lord Chaitanya is Krishna, and Lord Nityananda is Balaram. So in this role, Nityananda, he also takes the role of the spiritual master. When Lord Chaitanya sends out, and the Lord Nityananda and Haridas Thakur to preach in Navadvip, he gives them a simple instruction. He says, you tell the people this: Bolo Krishna, Bhajo Krishna, Karo Krishna, Shikha. Simple instruction. And if you try to get them to chant the holy name, he says, I put it into a little poem. Just chant the name of Krishna, worship him with all your heart, follow his instructions, and to others them impart. We can also accept that as Lord Nityananda's instruction to us. Chant the name of Krishna, worship him with all your heart, follow his instructions, and to others them impart. So in this way the Sankirtan movement is going on. So of course, many of the people were very happy to take this instruction. But this is Kali Yuga, and so when they went out one day, Nityananda and Haridas, they saw these two drunkards who were berating everybody, who were casting aspersions, and turned out, they asked who they are. They're fallen Brahmins, Jagai and Madhai. They're Brahmins, born in Brahmin families, but completely deviated. And they become thieves and dacoits and drunkards, and you should give them a wide berth. They're not going to take your instruction. So Nityananda said, oh, these are perfect candidates. Let me go. Haridas was trying to dissuade him, but Nityananda insisted on, please chant Hare Krishna. Please. So this enraged them, Jagai Madhai. And they started running after them. And Haridas and Nityananda were racing away. And Haridas said, see, I told you, you shouldn't have gone. And so, because Jagai and Madai were drunkards, eventually they fell over, they started fighting each other. And that was the end of that instance. But the next day, they went back again. And Nityananda again requested, and this time Madai took a shard of pot, a little broken piece of pot, and threw it at Nityananda and cut him seriously in the head. Blood is pouring down. So this sobered up Jagai. So when Madai tried to throw another shard, Jagai stopped him. He said, "What are you doing? This is a saintly person," like that. A little bit of sanity. Meanwhile, Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda saying, "Please chant Hare Krishna. I don't care if I'm bleeding or not." He went on with his preaching. Very, very important part of the pastime. Meanwhile, Lord Chaitanya heard what had happened. He rushed to the scene, and he's Krishna. He invoked his chakra, and Madai and Jagai were seeing what was going on, and they were mortified, frightened, paralyzed. Nityananda said, No. Jagai, he stopped him. So you shouldn't, you invoke your chakra. And so Lord Chaitanya said, "Oh, very good." So he blessed him. And Jagai said, "Now, if you stop, no more sinning, and you can be relieved." And so Jagai at that point became a devotee. And Mani said, "Oh, this is very good. I'll do the same thing." He said, No. So Lord Chaitanya, you have to get your relief from Nityananda by approaching him. So he did that, and Lord Chaitanya forgave him. And they became examples, and Lord Chaitanya said to his other devotees, "Don't now judge them by their previous activity. They've been purified now by surrendering. They promised, part of the thing was promise, to give up their sinful activity. No more sinning, and then all of your previous sins are absolved," like that. So they became first-class devotees. And this became the model for preaching in this Kali Yuga. Nityananda said, if you kill them, then you have to kill everyone in this Yuga. They're samples of this Kali Yugites. Everyone is more or less in this position. So that's the fact. And therefore, Lord Chaitanya and his associates, led by Nityananda and the other members of the Panchatattva, they broke open the storehouse of love of God by this simple process of chanting the holy name and surrendering oneself to the service of the Lord. And this is why, and Lord Chaitanya, he predicted that his name would be heard in every town and village of the earth. Now that prediction was said, well, it must be an exaggeration. At least maybe they mean India, right? Because he himself would have. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and Srila Prabhupada, they took it literally. And therefore, they all made efforts to spread Krishna consciousness outside of India. Bhaktivinoda Thakur had no organization, but he sent his little book, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Life and Precepts, in English, to McGill University and trying to reach out. Prabhupada saw that as very significant. He sent it in 1896, the year of Srila Prabhupada's birth. So, of course, we're sitting here because Srila Prabhupada took that order, that prediction of Lord Chaitanya, and the order of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur very seriously, and he brought to the West that mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and basically he said the same thing: chant the holy name of Krishna, follow his instruction. Here's the Bhagavad Gita as it is, you see, and give this science to others. And so that's how the basis of this movement is really the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu, which is, if you, Srila Prabhupada explained to us, to approach the highest levels of bhakti, the service of Radha Krishna, then you have to go through Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Radha Krishna personified in this age. But to get the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you need to get the mercy of Nityananda. And that means embracing this mood of becoming Krishna conscious, chanting the holy name, and giving it to others. And I wanted to read from you. There's a poem, wonderful poem by Vrindavan Das Thakur called the Nityananda Ashtaka. And in that poem, he has Lord Chaitanya approaching the residents of Navadvip. And so if you yes. So what happens is that he tells this story. Nityananda is approaching Lord Chaitanya. Nityananda said, "Oh brother, Kali is now ascendant everywhere, increasing people's suffering. It's more than I can bear. Please give these fallen souls an easy process to attain the shelter of your lotus feet, the place beyond all pain." Lord Chaitanya replied, "Instruct them all to chant Shri Krishna's name," the Lord replied, "to worship him with love and by his teachings to abide. O friends entrapped in Kali's clutches, yearning to break free, just worship Nityananda Ram, the root of the bhakti tree." So then the next verse describes Lord Nityananda fulfilling that order. Oh brother, he's going around to the different homes in Navadvip and appealing. "Oh brother, kindly chant Shri Krishna's name incessantly, and also teach this process to your friends and family. Thus cross the sea of birth and death, and be supremely blessed. Your liberation is the only alms that I request. Entreating thus to save the people from illusion's thrall, with arms upraised he went to every home throughout Bengal. O friends entrapped in Kali's clutches, yearning to break free, just worship Nityananda Ram, the root of the bhakti tree." So this is Lord Nityananda. But before I end, I have one more little poem for you. And that is in chapter 21 of the 10th canto. Some of you may be familiar. This is called the Venu Gita chapter. So the chapter begins with the end of the rainy season, the beginning of autumn. Everything is very fresh and clear, and Krishna enters into the forest with Balaram and the cows and the cowherd boys. And then the gopis, they're singing. They're watching them enter, and they have their songs. Actually, as Krishna goes out, and while they're out, they're also singing about them. But as they begin, the first two verses about Krishna and Balaram, not just about Krishna. And so Srila Prabhupada said in the Krishna book that the meditation, seeing this scene of Krishna and Balaram and their cows and boys entering the forest, this is the ultimate end of samadhi. This is a transcendental meditation. So I wrote a little poem on that little portion of that chapter. If you'll let me share it with you, and then I think we should go on to the Abhishek. So here's the scene. Vrindavan's rivers, lakes, and hills ring out with charming hums and trills, as flocks of birds and maddened bees rejoice among the flowering trees. To those idyllic woods and glens repairs Govinda with his friends Sri Rama and the cowherd boys to taste the most exquisite joys. And as they walk along the way, absorbed in herding and in play, Sri Krishna, beauty absolute, begins to blow his mystic flute. With peacock plume upon his head and fragrant flower on each ear, he enters Braja's woods with tread sublime, a dancer without peer. His golden yellow raiment glows, his garland reaches to his knees, and from his lips the nectar flows and fills his flute with melodies. As Krishna thus begins his day with friends who sing his glory sweet, he beautifies the forest way with fine impressions of his feet. Samadhi culminates in this, to always see this scene of bliss within oneself and outside too. May Krishna give this boon to you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari Bol.